You're listening to Studio 57 Radio, your home for underground hip-hop, rap, and R&B. Studio 57 Radio.
Where do I come from?
It seems like you have a little problem understanding the English language.
The only way a guy like you gets a set of nuts is by buying them at the concession stand.
I will eat his carcass in front of his little gazelle friends.
He's like a jar of mayonnaise with eyeballs and a ketchup haircut.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty!
Son of a bitch.
Wow, man, freaked out!
Get your fucking shit together, my God!
And I'm living now, yeah!
I want to know what's going on, and I want to know right now.
It's like the most important man in the world standing here, and you got a conversation going with each other.
I would like to just get to know you.
The great one says you can kiss his ass.
Nice to meet you. What's going on?
I wish horrible flesh-eating disease on you and your family, but not a disease where you die, a disease where you have to walk the earth mutated as some sort of piece of...
Listen to me very carefully.
Whatever your name is, get ready for the big surprise.
Listen to me very carefully.
Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am insane. And maybe it's time for you to find out how insane I am. Yeah.
We're not here just to take part, we're here to take over!
Hello. Can you hear me now? Hello. Jesus. Holy shit. Holy meltdown Batman. Okay. Now let's act like we have a fucking show. Woo! Welcome to Belt Collectors Unite. I hope you can hear me. Oh my God, what a debacle that little intro was. I'm sorry. I hope you guys are ready, man. It's going to be action-packed today. I hope you guys had a great weekend, a holiday weekend, 4th of July. I know America's hurting right now, and it might be a little hard to celebrate America's birthday. But you know, I hope you guys had some time with your friends and family and some barbecue and did something. It was heat wave city here in the Midwest. I don't know how you guys were living, but we were in the mid-90s, the upper 90s pretty much the whole time. And in the Midwest, well, we're not quite used to that all the time. So with the sun beating down, it was a great day to be out on the lakes and stuff like that here. So I imagine a lot of my local brethren got in and did a lot of that. So I hope you guys did. And wherever you are across this great planet, I hope you guys got some stuff in. Shout out to John, Juan, D, Canada Mike, my boy Burley's in the house. What's going on? I hope you guys are well. The hobby is like, you know, we started this, and we'll get into it, guys, and I'll get the text line up for you, and we'll get into some other stuff. But when I kind of had this idea for this podcast, I was going to do it. I wasn't sure that I was going to have enough content to do it every week. Do I do an hour? I sure didn't think I was going to do 2 hours. Things like that. So like trying to figure out the format, how we were going to run it. I wasn't sure, you know, but man, this hobby just keeps delivering the goods, baby. Like I could do this every week, probably 2 hours a week and not run out of shit to talk about. So, buckle up your seat boys. See, look, I'm already melting down. Buckle up your seatbelts, boys and girls. It is going to be a silly one. I've got, of course, we got the social media is where we're at. We're on Facebook Live and on the Studio 57 Radio YouTube channel. You can check us out on Spreaker and TuneIn and Stitcher and all that stuff here. More of that coming soon. You can hit us up on the text line if you want to go that route, 313-307-5340. Sorry, my alerts were shut off last week. I got them back, and so that should come up in front of me again. Also, like I said, I got the Facebook feed here in front of me, so if you want to get in on that, I'll sneak over to the YouTube chat room as well occasionally. Anything you guys want to contribute, feel free. You know, this is your show. I'm just kind of the moderator here. James, thanks for stopping in. Everybody, spread the word. Tell them what's going on. We're having some fun here. We got a belt breakdown. We got a belt in New Belt Day from Championship Belts. I'm sure you've seen their website and seen them advertised in these groups. And now you might notice that there's been a bit of a name change. So, after the Bingo Fashions thing, I update you on that. The next monster is this one here, and we'll kind of get into that. So we got that going on. What else do we got? Oh, my goodness. The debauchery that is some of these groups and the people in it is just absolutely amazing. And, guys, I don't want to knock the people in the group because you guys are great. It's like the moderators of these groups and some of the people that they're allowing to be in and giving a voice and doing things. It's just some of the goofiest shit I've ever seen. Like, and as much as things change, it all stays the fucking same. So we're going to get into that. Juan is probably in here listening and hanging out still and maybe in and out. He had an interesting encounter with someone prevalent in this hobby, and that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today. So like I said, if you want to get in on it, feel free to do that. And we'll get at it, guys. All your shipments go out. Belt guys, it's on the J-Dubs tip. I've got about 5 or 6 orders going out tomorrow, all packed up, ready to rock. And then I'll have all my designs sent to you guys tomorrow evening. So anybody in the design phase should have that stuff tomorrow evening. And then I got to get a few more belts knocked out, and then I can send another shipment of like 5 or 6, maybe 8 or 10. To be honest with you, the way that these things are kind of rolling. So everybody will be getting their tracking in the coming weeks. If there's a problem, if I've been taking too long, you guys want refunds because of the COVID and my illness and all this stuff just is way too long and you need to move on, then I understand. We'll get that taken care of as well. So I just want to handle that business, let you guys know if you missed my live earlier in the week, that, you know, if it's just been taking too long, I apologize. I make no excuses. I will gladly refund you if that's what you prefer. Other than that, orders are starting to roll. Like I said, I got a few going out tomorrow, and then next week we'll start getting the rest of them out. So, long-winded. Just want to get that business out there at the top of the show here, so you guys weren't, you know, like going, "What's this prick got going on here?" So there you go. So that's where we're at. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Let's aim for 3 hours. Yeah, we could probably do a lot of content. That's, you know, Mike, and as far as doing a show for 3 hours, that's like our parties, right? When we do our little virtual parties. That's a little easier because you have like content in the moment. But the way things have been with this hobby, man, they're giving us plenty of material to do 3 hours or 2 hours. So 3 is not far off from reality at this point. So let me wrap up the Bingo Fashions thing before we start getting into what's good and new in the world, guys. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the website, we got T-shirts for sale as well that are ready. You won't have to wait for that stuff. And there'll be some new products coming along, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you're new to us and you haven't seen our stuff, go to jdubbelts.com and give us a shout out. There's 3 B's in the middle there, so don't make sure you get all 3 B's in there, and we do other leather works too. So anyway, there's my stupid plug, and we're moving forward. So dealing with Bingo, your boy Shad, the maker over there at Bingo, found me. He tracked me down. he hunted me down like an animal. No, he guys, he was able to obviously through the community find me on social media and track down my personal Facebook page and reach out to me, and he saw the show, so where we kind of, were pretty honestly surprised by the belt we got, and he kind of knew what was going on forward. So this is kind of good news, I guess, in this respect. He reached out to me, and he was actually very appreciative that we were honest about the review and whatever. And I had posted some pictures of me holding the belt, so in our group and for you guys, and I think they were in another group, and so he saw them and asked if he could use those and our review as a potential promotional tool. Now, guys, you know how I am about this stuff. Like, I'm not a shill for anybody. Like, that's not really what we're going to do here. But I figured, like, I'll do a cat a favor if he'll do something for the community. So this is what I kind of proposed to him. I said, you need to go onto your eBay page and any social media stuff that you have and delete every picture that you have of every belt that you did not make. The only pictures that we should ever see from you of belts are belts that you made, unless you specify otherwise. So, for instance, you are going to make a belt, you haven't made it yet, but you want to offer that service up. You say, I have the artwork for this belt. This is a reference only. Would you like to buy this belt? We're offering this up. That is as far as you can go. And I told him I don't like that. I said, just call a customer. If you missed a picture of something that you made, because that was another thing he had mentioned. Well, I'd sent a couple belts out pretty quick that were my first runs and didn't get pictures of them. Well, then call your email your customer, say, hey, take a picture of your belt, shoot it to me, and put up your product. Do not do that. It kills your reputation. So he went through every single one. Now he's got, what he'll do is, and I still don't like this, and maybe Shad, if he is listening, he'll change this too. On a couple of his belts, on the very last picture of he'll have 12 pictures of himself, of his belts, and then the last picture will be like if it's the AEW, it'll be a picture of Moxley holding the AEW, right? And it's the very last picture, and all the other pictures are of the AEW. So I get what he's doing. It's a reference image of, if you don't know what this belt is, this is the guy that holds the belt kind of thing. But I just think you definitely can't have that as a featured part of your site, and you definitely want to put something on there that says this is not the actual belt that you made, because people will find stuff and they will run with it. And we talk about it here each and every week that shit is a red flag. That shit it's absolutely a red flag. So, oh geez, look at all this stuff going on. Don't be, and Juan, don't be making no handmade. You'll get cease and desist orders if you make cardboard, paper mache fucking championship belts for yourself. We'll get into that in a minute. So Juan, be careful there now. Don't be careful what you're making. So anyway, back to the bingo thing. So he's gone through and he's changed all that stuff, and so we'll see. I did get a good product. He didn't know what our plans were or anything like that kind of going in. He found out on the tail end that we kind of just came in and did this for the show and all that, as far as getting his product and seeing if he was on the up and up and all that. So I think he'll, make the right decisions, as far as, getting his reputation together. Guys, we're going to do homework. I implore you, I don't want to be a dick or act like I'm the end all be all, but go to the BCU group, talk to Mike Palmer, talk to Juan Rivera, talk to myself, before you take the words of these admins in these groups. Okay? I'm so fucking done with this shit. Cats that are shills for other belt makers that are making an a lesser quality belt for a higher price are out there murdering cats that they don't know anything about, making accusations, even posting pictures like this is what you're going to get when it obviously is not true, and kind of misrepresenting it because it actually benefits the guy he shills for to do so. And it's just, that shit it's gnarly. These groups are full of that kind of stuff. The admins allow these guys in there, or it's the admins themselves doing it. It's the same thing with, and we're going to get into Juan's thing and the whole cease and desist and the paper belts and one of the most notorious, never changes stripes cats in the business is back at it again. And all the cats that you guys put your trust in has allowed him to do all this shit. And he's coming after dude, it's so nuts. It doesn't even make any sense. So just I implore you, please, don't just take your fucking time. You know, reach out to guys that have a legit reputation and talk to them about stuff. And then take your time. You know, let things play out, because you just never fucking know, man. You just never know. Now, Shad, he might turn around and be making a bunch of money and jam people up and turn into one of these other makers that we've seen out there before. Okay, guys, it's happened where you've had a maker, he's had a good reputation, and all of a sudden he just goes off the reservation and shit gets whacked. Like, I'm not saying, that's why I don't shill for cats. You know what I'm saying? I just tell you my experiences in real time. Like, I don't sugarcoat it. We don't lie about it. We don't fucking tell you, oh, this is all great because this is my belt and I love it so much I have to tell you how great it is, even if it's fucking whacked and you got ripped and you need to tell people about it. Like, that's not happening here. Like, it's not. So, and these other groups are like that, and other players in this hobby are like that. We're learning right now, and we're not even going to get into wrestling today because it is so dirty, nasty, grimy, pro wrestling. We're learning, all that stuff's bubbling to the surface, which we should already know. But it's the hobby. When there's money, when there's power, when there's this, when there's that, there's always some dirty element to it. And the hobby, whether it's this hobby or if you trade sports memorabilia, that hobby is just as dirty or dirtier. I mean, it's just the way it is, man. And so you gotta be smart, and you can't just. I'm done. Like, all these guys. I'm gonna tell you this little thing about the music industry. I spent a lot of years in the music industry. I'm gonna tell you a little secret about your favorite show in the whole wide world, American Idol. American Idol is a goddamn dick sucking contest. Okay, this is what it is. It's super simple. Everybody you've ever seen like win American Idol, or not everybody, I'm going to say 99.9% of everybody you've ever seen win American Idol or have success because of it, dude, do your research. Every one of them cats were signed by a label before they got there. Do they do live auditions? Yes, because they want the train wreck part of the show. Yes. Do they occasionally find a diamond in the rough that does something, or an unfound talent? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. But no, that's not what the show is for. The show is for record labels to get you to fucking take and eat this product that they tried to serve you before that you rejected. They repackaged it. They resurfaced it. You didn't know it because you lived in this part of the country, or you didn't hear about it because that's not your genre, or they changed what they were doing, or whatever they had to do it. It's the same thing that Vince McMahon does with wrestlers, right? You've got, you have like Darso, right? Like he's Repo Man, Demolition. Like, these guys do 1,000,001 different things, and that's kind of what they do. They repackage this shit and force feed it to you again, and in a format that you like and enjoy, and you buy it and you eat that crap up. And essentially, it's them trying to make good on an investment they lost their ass on already. Okay, that is the real deal behind that shit. Period. This hobby is not any different. Okay? Big business where there's money is not any different. So this hobby's not big money, but it can be. And for overseas makers, it's huge because our money goes so much further over there. So you got to be smart about who you're dealing with. A middleman is unnecessary. Unnecessary. Does it cost me a little bit more to do things the right way? and go through a PayPal and make sure I'm taken care of? Yes, because now I'm going to pay taxes. Now I'm going to pay service fees, but I'm going to be protected. Or do I go through a middleman who I just send some money, friends and family, you never hear from them again, or you send it overseas to somebody you don't know, or you Western Union it to somebody you don't know, and you never know what happens. The guy could be all on the up and up, and in this day and age, die from Rona tomorrow, and you couldn't do nothing about your money. Protect yourself every way you can. That will always be my number one rule. So before we get into shilling belts or belt makers or anything like that, I'm not doing it. But when I talk about Chad and Bingo, at least he is putting good faith efforts. When I see the opposite of good faith put out there. The same thing with some of these groups. These guys have been doing dirty in the hobby before, then they come back. They suck each other's dick. They do their little podcast together. They tell each other how great they are. And then the little hobby forgets that all that shit happened. And then all of them are together. And they talk shit about other cats, but they still work with them or do the very same thing that they do or bring them into the group to fuck up the fun for everybody else after they were just shit canning them earlier. Not everyone. Not everybody's like that. This is all generalizations, I understand. But seems what I thought was a quiet, like a minority of the hobby is not. It's not the minority of the hobby as us guys. It is. It's us guys. You know, guys that are doing it on the legit. That is actually the minority. Ask some of these cats. Think about it. Think about it. You're in a group. You're in there all the time. You chit chat, and you make a dozen friends. Maybe make 24 friends. And the group's got 6,600 people in it, and you guys are all in there for the same thing. But you kind of only really are friends with 20, 30 people. 2%. What is that? What is that percentage? You know what I'm saying? So for me. It's like, okay, so now I found a very small percentage of the hobby that I think are good people, that are trustworthy and whatever. And that does grow over time. And this hobby gives me way more than I can complain about as far as I'm concerned, because I enjoy the hobby and the friend. If I make one good friend, it's better than a million. So I'm with it. But I mean, man, this shit is crazy. Okay. You got guys out there that provide a service, hold people's shit hostage, act like an asshole, over fucking charge. The community gets fed up, kind of runs them out of the groups, and then all of a sudden they're just back and everything's good and everybody's fine. And they're back to doing the same because they've burned their bridges in all these groups and now they can't make any money. And so now they got to come back. And once again, you're getting run. You're getting worked, right? Wrestling's all about the work. And it seems like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's only going to get crazier. But if we stick together, everything will be good. So that's kind of what this, that's what I'm talking about with the belt collectors kind of uniting, and kind of we need to drown out those cats. Because like I said, I still believe that the grimy, dirty are just the loud, vocal minority that kind of just seems to, just be around. And we got, but I still believe that, but it just seems like I said earlier, that the evidence is the other way. So we'll see how it goes and what happens here. So when I started this podcast, I think I told you guys about my interaction with, or my idea to start this podcast a few years ago. I had an interaction with Dan McMahon. If you guys don't know who Dan McMahon is, he's basically, a belt maker, American belt maker, more of a leather guy. But yes, he licenses, things to make belts and tries to work deals and with the companies and does things kind of like the business way that you guys don't really see. He's not a replica maker. He's not a bootlegger. And if you were to get customs, I'm sure it would be just like anybody else. You'd be waiting 10 years to see it. So it's just one of those things. And that's the thing with McMahon. He claims not to be a bootlegger, but we have evidence that he has used artwork in the past that was somebody else for his promotions, for his own thing, when he was specifically asked not to do so. And so if you're doing that for profit, I mean, that's the same thing as you're bootlegging. If you're making or providing or and you've been told and asked not to, especially when you're a guy that will run out and try to do a cease and desist type situation over a inkjet paper fucking championship. Okay. So when I started this thing and told shit about and talked to him about, okay, this is the whole thing. When I put it out there that I want to do a podcast that was kind of about this, kind of exposing the underbelly, the dirty underbelly of the hobby, so we can all protect ourselves, and, you know, getting some people in some groups together, admins together, to maybe, you know, make something a safe place, because I don't really want to run a group. And then, of course, nobody wanted to hear shit. And the only people that were even remotely interested were the people that want to thwart it and stop it and get in the way of whatever progress may be there. So no worries, Mike. Glad to have you here, brother. I am doing a lot better, and I'll get into the health stuff a little bit later. So there's a lot of that going on. So Dan is an interesting character, but when it comes to when I brought out the podcast, the only people that showed any kind of interest were people that, you know, wanted to thwart it because of possible things that could come out. I really truly believe that. I believe that Dan was one of those, and I don't think that Dan is a con artist or a rip-off or a scam or anything. In fact, quite the opposite. I think Dan is a wealth of knowledge. I think when it comes to not only leatherwork and belt making, but the history of championships, not just from a lineage standpoint, but from a physical, geographic, like location, who had what, where, and why they did and how they got there. That on top of like who made what and had the rights to this and did that. Like this guy, like he's a veritable encyclopedia of championship belt knowledge. Dude, that kind of guy in this hobby being a positive force would be what fixes this. That's what's so polarizing about Dan. If he did all that stuff and actually was a positive force on the hobby, then not only would this hobby clean up and get better, a lot of the things that he claims that he's trying to clear up and clean up would actually kind of just go away on their own. So he wouldn't necessarily, you know, over time that stuff would dwindle away, because when you spread knowledge the right way and you get people understanding, you know, instead of being just a dick. And then on top of it, very hypocritical. You cannot be a hypocrite about something. And then if you find that your statements and your actions aren't lining up, you need to own that shit and fix it. Dude, that's not in Dan's personality. Not from what I can tell. I don't know the guy, but that does not seem to be in his personality. He cannot help himself but to go after everybody all the time about everything he perceives as a slight to the business of finances. Because, and it's real, guys. We talked about it earlier, right? Gucci's going to be mad at the guys selling those $5 Gucci bags if they're not selling their $300 Gucci bags anymore, okay, because of it. So whether that's reality or not, Dan perceives things in that way, that bootleggers make these things and it's taking money out of his pocket and the pockets of his friends. He will say, no, I am here to save the hobby and I'm here to protect you. But that, my friends, is as far from the truth as you can get, because because if it was about protecting you, it wouldn't be the way he does things. Okay, if you see how he does, so that's where my problem lies with Dan. Like I said, all the stuff that I like. Well, my problem is that he will tell you to your face he's trying to help the hobby, but he's not. And I don't, and that's fine. He doesn't have to help the hobby, but don't tell me you're here to help me when you're here to help you. Okay, you can't do that to people and expect people to respect you for that. Okay, so that is the only issue I will ever have with Dan, and that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. He goes after our buddy in the hobby, Juan, over a belt that he's like, hey, I got this XPW belt, this artwork, found it online, Googled it, found it, gonna print it out, and he'll do his cardboard, inkjet, whatever on a yoga mat, whatever he does, right? And you'll have that to display. And actually, those things look pretty good from a distance and from a display standpoint. And if that's what keeps him sane and he has fun doing it and enjoys it, and it's part of what he likes about this hobby, I can't see, he's not selling this thing for profit, never had intention to do so, but automatically assumed and popped off on Juan and turned this into a big huge thing. And so, dude, let's be real. Even if a guy made a belt that was bootleg, if you are really out to stop this horrible underbelly of the shit, call Matthew. Right? We all talked about, I'm not even sure if that's the guy's name anymore at this point, but right, we talked about these cats that are out here looking over the intellectual property of these companies. Call him. Shut your fucking mouth and call him. But it isn't about that. Okay? It's about being, having this bully mentality. So, and being able to kind of say, and I get it. You want to say stuff, you want to do stuff, dude. You know what? You really want to do something? See who that person is. Get a little info on them. Tell Matthew and let them go get him. What are you doing? What are you doing? Unless it's something that you own and you have to file the cease and desist, then you say, hey, shots fired. If I see another one, my attorney will be in touch with you. It's that simple, and you keep it moving. So I just think, and that's just my opinion, guys. Like I said, I still respect the guy for the wealth of knowledge and his skill set and all that other stuff. But there are some very hypocritical things about what he does in this hobby, and don't get it twisted. It ain't about making this shit better for you. Well, and that's just a fact. Yeah, you guys, Mike, Canada, Mike up there. It's hot as hell, even in the Canada range. Yeah, and Mike, you said the same thing here. SoCal Mike chimes in. I have conflicted feelings about Dan. I respect his work and his knowledge, but he rubs me the wrong way. And I guess that's what it gets to me too. Is there's a right and a wrong way to treat people, a right and a wrong way to get your message across. There's a right and a wrong way to get people to kind of do what you're looking for them to do. Like if you really wanted somebody to not make bootlegs, then you would find a way to convince them to understand the whole bootlegging scenario and why it's not, why it's an issue. So, and everybody asked me my stance on bootlegging and have before. I feel, and we'll get into it in a minute here, but I feel if you, if it's something that's not available, there's no maker per se, whoever owns the rights isn't replicating it, doing whatever, and you want to make a belt or have a belt made and it's for your collection, I think that there is zero fucking problem with that. I'm sorry, you'll never convince me that that is something bad. You just won't. I'm sorry. Dan can strike me down and say whatever. But I think if there's a product, for instance, WWE has the new Intercontinental, right? The new version of the Intercontinental out. You can get it for $400, but you want to save $100, so you get it from, through some middleman in some group, and he gets it to you for $300, and you're happy because you saved $100. Well, dude, first off, you're going to have an inferior quality without question. Shop belts, though they weren't always the greatest, have absolutely upped their game because they are very, very aware of the hobby and what people like. I told you guys this weeks ago that this is changing, and behind the scenes, this is all changing. Okay, so whether you want to believe the stuff I put out there or not, it's cool. In time, you'll see whether I'm off. We'll all see whether I'm off base or not. But I don't typically just kind of bump off at the mouth about something unless I'm saying, hey, this is just me bumping off. So it's just that simple. So Dan is a dick, and Dan is a dick until he gets caught. You're right, Juan. When you can shut him down by catching, and you can shut down any bully and any hypocrite by catching them being a hypocrite. It is. Well, and there you go, Mike. If you have permission, then you're good to go as far as getting a belt made. If you got permission from the promoter, the owner, to the that owns the trademark logos and all that stuff, you are good to go. And, Dan has to understand that he's not necessarily, though he knows way more than he's forgotten more than I'll ever know. He doesn't know everything, and he's not privy to everybody's, rights to do whatever. Like, I dare him to come fuck with me about the companies that I have the rights to do shit for, and acting like he knows what he's talking about. I dare him, because I'll just get the damn presidents and the owners of the companies on right in on the conversation, like lickety split. And so that's why he hasn't come at me yet. But because I do shit, I understand what he's doing. I'm trying to do the same thing, only I'm not a fucking dick about it. But yes, if I have a thing and I have licensing rights and I did a design and I do a belt, like I did the IWE Heavyweight Championship belt, and someone was making replicas and ripping them off, and I couldn't sell any because this asshole's making them for cheaper and ripping them off, you're damn right he's getting a cease and desist. If Juan goes to his inkjet, prints the motherfucker up, tapes it on some fucking cardboard, puts it on a yoga mat, hangs it in his fucking living room, I'm not fucking saying a word, dude. I'm going to give him a thumbs up. I'm going to take his picture. I'm going to put it on our website, and he's going to be the super fan of the fucking month. You dig? All right. Fuck am I going? So my whole thing with bootlegging is, yes, if you're out there stealing money from an active thing, but there's so many belts out there that that are not available to you. There are so many custom ideas, and there's so many different things that you can do in this community when it comes to that stuff. I don't see a big deal. But if you're a middleman and you're making 101 Intercontinental Championships and getting them shipped to your house from Pakistan to sell them and make a profit, you're as bad as the bootlegger that made all those belts. Because you can buy those on Shop for an affordable price. Like I said, the Shop belts for another $100. Like, I'm not doing it. You won't. I've got two bootleg WWEs, and it was our first infiltration of a group with a middleman and all that stuff for the show that actually never really got aired, because all these other cats that you're seeing out here now that we're all sheeple following, these admins and these other groups, they all kind of, stalled how things kind of went. So when I did that whole first one, I never really got it on the podcast when I wanted to. So now that it's so old, it's dated now, so it's not worth it. We're working in real time here. And so, like I said, man, whatever, dude. Whatever. Just be careful. Be safe out there. And if the red flag's the red flag, no matter who recommends. If I say something and, and you want to go there, just if the red flags are there and you're not comfy, don't even take my word for it. That would be my recommendation. Do what your belly tells you. What your gut says. UWN TV title. Okay, interesting. And I saw, Juan, I got and maybe we'll share this in the VCU group, Juan. I've got those screenshots and those conversations and all that stuff. And I got mine from your conversations with Dan and all your stuff from Jamar and all that for your little debacle with that nonsense, which I can't believe that they go after you over that XPW belt out of paper like he even knows what's going on. He doesn't hold the rights to that stuff anyway. Once again, policing the hobby in like this very aggressive way that has nothing to do with nothing. And so I don't get all that. So I love that whole interaction and the fact that it was the most trivial thing blown up into something that should have never ever been what it was, and you should never had to deal with that shit. And so maybe if you feel free, if you want to share that, Juan, in the BCU group, that'd be kind of cool. I'll share mine. Interactions very much similar. I'll do some other stuff too. I've got tons of, I should just like start putting all kinds of stuff out, man. Just no context, just screenshots, man. My phone is so full of shit. I should just screenshot, no context. But I don't want to do all that. We'll make sense of it all as we get rolling through this show and other shows. And speaking of shows, IWE is back in business, guys. If you're in northern central Michigan, September 19th, the boys and girls of the IWE are going to be back at it. The Gladiators will be clashing at an all-ages, family-friendly outdoor event September 19th. At the Artesia Youth Center in Houghton Lake. It'll be an outdoor event, so social distancing will be easily available to you because there's a pretty big property there, and you know, I'm assuming they're going to want you to like wear masks if you can't get some separation there and all that stuff. But they're going to have the vendors and all the gladiators back. It's going to be fun stuff. Your boy's going to be in the house. Very, very, very cool stuff. So check them out. Next week, we are going to book a very special guest. We're going to talk about, and I'll post some stuff. You'll see it on the page, and I'll get it to you in droves. And I got text to get to. We're holy shit monkeys. You guys should what? Stop sending me these pictures of these hot women, guys. That's not what the text thing's for. I mean, I love it, but god damn. Anyway, it's distracting. You're derailing the whole show here. Yeah, so we're gonna get we're gonna have a very special guest next week. Like I told you guys, I kind of try to do the same thing Dan is, in the respect that we're trying to get a few things rolling on the licensing tip, okay, if that makes any sense to you at all. So we're proud to I guess announce now that because I got the designs I'm not quite finished with yet, but I'm going to finish them up and get them out to them tomorrow evening. We're going to work with Die Hard Wrestling. So we're going to have Tim. We're going to have Tim in, and I hope I say his name right. It's Harrell or Harrell, I'm not sure. We'll get that cleared out. I haven't talked to him physically on the phone, which I would like to do before we get the show going. But I did set up an interview with him because we have kind of gone over, and like I like to do when I do business, I like to put everything in email form so that everything's in writing, and then we'll seal the deal with a conversation. So, Die Hard Marketing and Die Hard Wrestling. You want to check it out. It's a DIY Hard, and we'll talk more about that next week. We'll have him on, and we'll get into what we're doing for them and what they're all about. Very cool mission statement that they got. So I really want you guys to get in on that. So that will be next week. Okay. Also next week, I'm sure you guys noticed that Ring of Honor has new championships, and that the old ones were sold dirt cheap. I'm sure some of you guys got in on that sale. I meant to actually open the show with that, but it's been so chaotic today that I couldn't even come in on the open the way I wanted. But I'm sure some of you guys got in on it. I actually got in on it. I hadn't been feeling well. I've been lazy and sleeping and trying to get my shit together. So by the time I seen it, it was kind of late. But I did get the Ring of Honor 6-man title. So that'll be here for us next week. We'll go over that. We'll take a look at that, and we'll talk about the new ones. We don't have a new one because I think Wildcat's making the new ones. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Mike and Juan. You guys probably know better. But they are significantly, just from the images I've seen, they look a lot better, the new ones. And the straps, I'm sure, will be a lot better. But we're going to break down the old ones. And for the price point, I'm sure it was totally worth it. So we'll have that next week. And as well as Tim from Die Hard Wrestling. So very fun stuff. We'll get all into it. Now, before we get out of here, we hooked up with championship belts. You got 3 6-mans. What are you going to do? You obviously got to have some others out there for available on the market, or are you just going to customize them and just have 3 of them? Why 3, mister? Why 3? But then you'll be able to break it down. You'll probably get yours before or the same day or similar. So you might be able to break it down I think mine's supposed to land by showtime. Oh, no, it's supposed to land in a couple days. So, yeah. So you'll know. You can break it down together. It'll be fun. But anyway, we were talking about championship belts. Now, guys, they changed their name to Legacy Belts. Now, to me, that's a huge red flag. Facebook shut down their business page, and they were forced to open up another one with a different name. Now, if I had posted something that got me in trouble with like a trademark infringement or a bootlegging situation or whatever the case may be, I would probably just reopen it with the same name, maybe change something subtle to it, not go from championship to legacy. Not a drastic change. I'd want people to know. They did put out a thing saying that they wanted people to know they changed their name and they were shut down. Their website is still the same. And it's just got every red flag you can think of. I don't know if you guys have seen them out here, but this is why we picked on them. Because they have, they have the Facebook page that went through that kind of drama. Their website is kind of cheap and janky and weird looking and laid out funny. And they'll have like the same belts for two different prices and not really explain why that is per se, and descriptions and just a lot of weird stuff that's kind of going on. So it's like, okay, we got to handle this stuff. So we got in there, and I did 2 orders. We did an order for one of their low-end cheapy belts, and then one of their high-end belts. As far as it's a higher on their tickets, on their price, but still cheap, and a really hard belt to make. So we're going to see how that one goes. Now, we ordered 2, got 1 in already. Now, what I will say is, not only did they have the Facebook snafu and their website look a little goofy, it actually, when you click on it, it kind of moves around. When you make an order, it sends you a receipt or a confirmation from yet another business name. So now they are either championship belts, or they're legacy belts, or they're famous belts. So, like, that's red flags every freaking where. Plus, they've got belts that start at $90. $90 $90 fucking dollars, and you can have Lucha Underground Championship, I think is what I saw. I think they had a US championship for like 100 or 110. Dome Globes, I think you can get for like 110. Dude, I'm here to tell you, I can't make them that cheap. I can't make them that cheap. It costs me more to make one of those belts, even if it's just 2mm brass on beef jerky. I can't make a belt for $90 like that. I can't. An acid etched belt out of brass, I can't do it. I can't make it. I'd lose money. So it's the other red flag is up. Too good to be true. Price is too good to be true. So I'll tell you the interaction so far. So the first belt came, had it in stock, shipped it right away. No issues. It's here now. We'll go over it. Well, no issues as far as it came. Now this happened a little bit down the road because we were dealing with bingo, right? So we're just now getting caught up. And so then while checking in subsequent weeks, while checking in on the other belt, communication has been very bad. Literally, as in, I have 30 emails that weren't answered until I threatened to go and do a chargeback, and then I got answers. And I got responses. So another horrible red flag. But, once again, we'll see what happens. We did get a belt from them, so we do have a belt to review, and we do have to have some kind of faith that that Hassan will get us our other belt. So before we get up out of here for the evening, Mateen, Belt Maker of the Year in a few pages today, yes. If I was going to take a belt if there was any belt maker, bootleg belt maker out there, that would be the only guy I would ever send you to by name specifically. Like, go ahead and go and feel like Mateen's been around quite a while. I've never heard of him ever screwing anybody over, and his plates are probably the best that you can get of that value. So without spending $1,200 on plates, he's probably going to be the top guy, though you're going to wait. And sometimes the communication can be a little iffy, but that's only sometimes, and shit happens. Okay, so I know how it goes. So yeah, he's justifiably probably the maker of the year, especially in the community where bootleggers are put on a pedestal because you're making the belts that people want at a cheaper value. So there's that. So this is so now, without trying to be a hypocrite about this situation, you've noticed the bootleg that I brought in, the AEW, was because why? At the time of this transaction, all this going down, AEW belts, replicas weren't available. The toys, I believe, the toy replicas will be out this fall, and then by Christmas, I'd imagine, in time for Christmas, and hopefully not long after, the adult replicas will be available in quantity. So I will ultimately probably sell this one that I have here, or auction it off, or do something to it here, the group on the show, whatever, and replace it with an authentic. So, but in today's case, there's no such thing as an authentic replica of this particular belt. So once again, I'm going to put it in my collection. I'm going to put it in my display. And if I decide to have another one made that's better or nicer or whatever, then maybe I'll auction this one off at the cost to us and just get it back out there to someone that wants it for their collection at a great price. This belt came in at $170 price point. I could not make this particular belt for $170. It's not available in replica form anywhere because it's not a real fucking promotion. It is the Lucha Underground, a Gift of the Gods Championship. Guys, you know I'm a Lucha mark, so it only made sense that I would get this belt. But I can't, it's not, there's no replicas available. So so here you go. It's for my collection. I'm not making copies. I'm not selling it, and there isn't a replica available. So we'll break this thing down. I'm not even going to get out of my chair. I've looked at it over real well. You can see it in the picture. I will get up and move it around here towards the end as we're getting out so you guys can get a real good look. And maybe I'll move the camera in on it is what I'll do and lean over. But right off rip, it's wrong as rain. Artwork is actually really good. Let's be positive first before we start annihilating this thing. But like at first glance, I'm like, whoa, this thing's fucking way wrong. But first glance, okay, it's 2mm brass. It is stacked. It is a good size. It's beef. It's a big size, a big belt. I still believe it to be smaller probably than the one on TV, but it's still a big belt. The etching is for 2mm brass is really good. They did a really good clean job on the paint. The artwork looks correct. I'm sure there's probably some subtle things, but like just off rip running through it, look good. The plating job on it isn't too bad. Let me we'll mobilize the camera here. You don't have that like melted look when you're looking at these plates. You get in on them, the paint is very good, even in some of those finer lines, especially like around the... Of course, the medallions are not removable. I wouldn't expect them to be at that price. Like I said, when I want to upgrade, this one will be available to you guys, at a very, very discounted, nice price. Maybe I'll do like a $1 raffle or something on it, or whatever you guys want to do. I know raffles are kind of janky, so I don't want to do anything that you guys aren't comfortable with. But, yeah, so all those are good. Etching is good. The plating isn't bad. The paint the paint job did good on that. Artwork seems to be fairly accurate. And it's, we're cursed with the beef jerky leather, but this is actually pretty flexible. And we're going to talk about leather more next week, because I seen this in groups too. That's a controversy, and Dan is helpful to an extent, but once again misrepresented this particular fact. And so I not that I want to be the one correcting Dan McMahon, but I'm going to a little bit here. This is a thinner leather, okay? That's why it's so floppy and flexible, because this is a 7-ounce leather, not a 9-ounce leather. And so you can tell the difference, because a 9-ounce leather will be 3 millimeters or thicker. It'll be damn near, with the backing on it, it'll be damn near as thick as your 4 millimeter plates. So if you're getting a full 9-ounce thick, heavy leather, it's going to be that thick. So this is like a 5 to 7 ounce leather. It's thinner. It flops more, but it still supports a 2 millimeter brass. There is nothing wrong with that leather being on those plates being on that leather at all. But to say that, that it's supposed to be that thin, like I've seen people represent on property, it's not true. Like if you're getting a good 9-ounce veg tan leather, it will be thicker than that. Guys, if a veg tan, if you get a belt and it's real leather but it's stiff, it takes a while to work a belt in. You have brand new leather. And then they probably went with a veg tan over an oak tan, and veg tan is a little stiffer than oak tan. Oak tan's that real soft, bendable, flexible stuff, and it was probably worked pretty heavy on top of it, so you get that real like floppy, foldy. That's so just so you guys are aware. So this leather is a little thinner, but is a lot more floppy, but it's still the same texture and still made of that jerky style fucking leather at rough edges, rough cuts. And this is not like hand-tooled stamp. This is like a machine lasered, and then they cut around it, and the cuts aren't very perfect, and it's not real tooling. I don't know what else to say. Someone did not sit there with a fucking leather tool and a hammer or and a mallet and do that. They just didn't. Typical bootleg beef jerky leather, but not the worst I've ever seen. Just for the record. Corners are peeling on the edge, pretty typical. When you look at, sorry, get the camera on there better. Like right here in these corners, really hard to get those glued down well. So a little bit there. Of course, the backing is not leather; it's fake leather. It's like vinyl or something. Which I use vinyl material to keep the cost down. We can do real leather, just cost you, $15-20 more. But look at this tip. The fuck is that? The fuck is that? The fuck is that? It's a half a fucking tip, and it doesn't even fit the goddamn leather. What the fuck is that? Get the fuck out of here. So before this bitch leaves the shop, it would be re-leathered and no tip. Sorry guys, I can't put that broke ass half a tip on there. That shit's stupid. Okay, so now. So there you go. It's like I said, it's 2 millimeter brass. It is what it is, and it's not the horriblest belt I've ever seen. For $170 for a belt that size, I don't think I can bitch a whole lot. But I'd have to also know that there's a lot of work I'm gonna have to do to it. The number one thing, right off rip, guys, did anybody notice what is horribly wrong with this fucking thing? Why it's so disfigured in my mind? I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Just look at it before I close up shop. Just look at this thing. If you guys know Lucha Underground, tell me if you can tell me the big glaring mistake that he made with this belt that we have not mentioned at all. Oh, there's another thing I wanted to show you too, guys. Sorry. He used a nipper or a machine or something weird to cut these plates. Because if you get down right on the edge of these plates, I don't know if it'll focus in on them, but you see where on the very edge of the plates where the leather is, you can see it shiny there. Those are like tooth marks from whatever cut this thing. I don't know if see them there, and it's in random spots on the edges all over these plates. See? So whatever he used to cut it, he didn't file those edges down all clean in every little spot. So those would be the little things. But dude, this is a 7-plate belt. It is triple stacked. Well, you're looking at a chair. I don't know why you want to see that. It is triple stacked. That ring around the centerpieces is stacked. That centerpiece does look like the medallions, if I remember correctly. At least they're close enough that I'm not going, those are fucked up. So, but what is it? What did you guys see anything? Why are they showing an Eagles concert on ESPN? Because they're running out of shit to do. That's why, Mike. I don't know what to tell you. So if you remember, and guys, once again, we got to get another party together. So once I get a little bit caught up here, you guys want your orders more than you want a virtual party. So let me get those orders caught up a little bit more, and then we'll get another virtual party. But we will be back next week. Like I said, we're gonna have Tim in here. We're gonna talk about Die Hard wrestling. We're gonna talk about. We're gonna have another belt review that we're gonna be able to do. We're gonna have the 6-man belt from right off the Ring of Honor site, and then hopefully we will have in the coming weeks here soon we'll have another belt from this very same company, but and we'll see how that one is. That one's more of a high dollar. It's supposed to be their better belt, so we'll check that out too. So once again, I still think for $170 for this particular belt, knowing what it was getting and what I'd have to put it, I'm not disappointed per se, but it's still not right. It's still not right. So the number one thing wrong with this is this belt in the Lucha Underground promotion was it's a nickel-plated belt. It's not gold at all. Well, except for the medallions and such. So you have those circles, those center circles are gold-plated, but the actual plates are nickel, I believe. And so or they actually, I don't think they plated them at all. I think they did like your boy at Red Leather did and just didn't finish it. No, they actually finished it, but I think they left the zinc and only gold-plated the medallions in that ring, and then polished the zinc and left it that color. So it's got that nickel, that brushed nickel look. So you don't have that two-tone look. So that's the first thing right off rip when I pulled out of the bag was like, whoa, yep, nope, that's not right. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's not right, but it's not horrible, and it'll display nice. I'll put it in with my Lucha Underground displays. We do have 3 more belts coming for review. Shad wanted to, because we helped and I helped, he wanted to, of course, make another sale. So I gave him another option to make another belt and see if he can knock it out of the park, because now he knows that all eyes are on his belt. So we'll have another belt from Shad and Bingo down the road too, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. This one here is so we'll see. Like I said, for $170, it showed up. They had it in stock available, so it shipped right away, and we got it pretty quick. But the other one we ordered had to be made. Communication has been, not very good. And like I said, all the other red flags are there. But it does look like the images that he's got on the site are his. So I kind of knew that this thing wasn't going to be. We knew that. We knew it. We know. So, but once again, not terrible, but not the greatest thing ever. So I might re-leather it and do some, get it looking nice when I get a replacement for it, and then we'll get it to you guys at a collector for a really good, cheaper than my sponsor spun it for us. So, and then we can turn that into another episode of this stuff. You know, we can do another one of these. So, and like I said, I got 3 more coming. So we're gonna go all different makers and stuff like that are gonna be getting going in here. So, yeah, that's funny too, Mike, because that's the other thing. So you say at least it was in stock, and you do right on the money, my man, because it'll say in stock, and then you'll place the order, and it won't be in stock. So this is how it works. I wanted to get 2 belts. I wanted to get a high-end belt. I wanted to get a low-end belt as far as their ticket price. I wanted to know what they had to offer and what you could expect. So we did one of each. The high-end one was listed as in stock, available to ship immediately. The low-end one, this one here, was out of stock, needed to be made, and quite frankly, it was the opposite. Got an email immediately stating that the other one was not available in stock and had to be made, but this one was ready and that he'd ship it immediately. So at least it was shipped immediately. But yes, you're right. It just, that once again, another red flag of why. And these cats, even if they're all legit, they wonder why people are like, won't mess with them or are freaked out by, you know, doing stuff. So once again, if you got a maker and he wants you to send it to you, like Shad, same thing. Shad would love you to send it to him Western Union from Bingo, because that's a cash transaction. There's no fees involved, and he doesn't have to claim that tax, okay? So then he'll give you a better deal. But if you, like, I don't know what's going to happen to Shad. Even if I trust him, I don't know what's going to happen to Shad, right? But if you don't trust a maker, you sure as hell ain't going to send money over there like that. So for me to pay the 3% or 5%, the 3% PayPal fee and the 6% tax on a $100 and $200 item, I'd rather pay that $60 extra and make sure I don't get jacked up, or whatever the fees are. I'd rather get, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if they are, it's just say, hey, well, I don't want to do that. I'd rather pay the fees and the taxes for you. Oh, okay. If they have a problem with that, then you're back to another red flag. So, and these guys kind of have a bunch of red flags. So we're out red flag hunting and trying to get some real answers, and that's what we got from them. So we'll see what happens. They got another one for us on their high end. We'll break that in when it does, when it gets here. But I think next week we're going to break down the little Ring of Honor championship thing, what's going on with there. I know you guys want to get into some wrestling stuff, but it's just a ugly world out there in pro wrestling right now, and I didn't want to talk about the actual in-ring stuff because guess what? This guy hasn't watched anything this week, so I'm going to be watching DVRs over the next few days while I'm in the shop working and getting caught up on Fyter Fest and Bash. So no spoilers. I've been doing my diligence to stay away, and we'll get back at it again next week, guys. Like I said, it's just I don't know what to say. I want more for all of us, and hopefully we'll get there. And we'll see what happens with championship belts or legacy belts or famous belts, whoever the fuck they are. At least they have a middleman that takes money that gives you protection, though it's not Facebook, or not PayPal. It's like Payoneer or something like that. But you're good. You're safe protection. So protect yourself out there. Be good to each other. I love y'all. We'll see you next week on the Flippy Flip. Peace.
You're listening to Studio 57 Radio, your home for underground hip hop, rap, and R&B. Studio 57 Radio.